Well, hello. It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. So let's dive into it.
A remake of the movie Get Hard.
If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And we're going to talk a little bit about live streams here. I'm just checking my notes so I don't forget something. Live streams, titles and outros on this channel, and we're going to talk a little bit about video length. So let's dive into it. Alright, so these are the pens I've been using this week from left to right. We have the Lamy 2000, the Aurora DuoCart, brought in due to a suggestion by a viewer actually, the Sheaffer Balance Oversize, the Sheaffer Imperial Deluxe, the Sheaffer Imperial 330, Sheaffer Snorkel Clipper, TWSBI Draco, and a Pilot Custom 823. As always, we'll be writing in this cognitive surplus theory notebook. So the first pen up is the lovely Lamy 2000. Has a nice semi-hooded nib, and it's a gold nib. Just make it fun. And ink's getting down, we're going to have to fill it soon. Just a beautiful pen, beautiful material. And it's very understated, which I appreciate. So Lamy 2000. Mine is a fine point, which, for general writing, I think is my favorite. The ink in it is Lamy Blue Black. I'm going to change that situation over the holidays. Wow, blue does not have a black in it. Oh my gosh. Okay, Lamy Blue Black, the messiest ink name I've ever written on the channel. Sorry about that. We'll do a little swirler doodle, and we'll do a swatch. So I like to show the different directions the pen can handle. So that's just showing kind of how it can fill an area, horizontally and vertically. Some pens do well one way and not the other. That tests for oblique, and this tests for how stub-like or italic it is. As far as a picture, I was looking at last week's picture. I don't even remember what that was. Oh, it was a guy sleeping. That's what it was. Okay, now I remember. Yeah, I've been looking at that thinking, I don't know what that was supposed to be. Okay, so we're not going to do a guy sleeping. Let's do, because I just did a basketball lab. So let's put a hoop here. Put a backboard on it. And let's physics it up. Put a net. So what the idea is you got somebody shooting a basketball. Arcs over, actually probably from a little lower than that. And what you're trying to find out is what's the perfect angle to shoot at. So you're going to have your vertical component of your velocity. You're going to have your horizontal component of your velocity. And then kind of your actual velocity, muzzle velocity, so they say. And this is your launch angle here. So we were trying to figure out what's the optimal angle for making a foul shot. We didn't spend lots of time doing it, but I found a nice study that went into it in more depth than we did, because we weren't going to spend that much time. All right, the next pen is this Aurora DuoCart. Now, if you click on the link that's down in the video description, it's a different Aurora DuoCart. I still have that one. This is actually a newer model of the same pen, and I just really liked the color because I like green. So this is the Aurora DuoCart. inked up by the suggestion of viewer Sajad Hussein. You know what? I'm thinking this is too light, or too dark, I mean. Oh. Apparently I can't adjust the exposure while filming, because nothing happened there. So we'll work on that for next week. Alright, so the ink in it is Parker Quink Black, because I like to have a black pen. Usually it's my Lamy 2000, but right at the moment I inked it up, I didn't happen to have black ink. Which was a surprise. So this Aurora DuoCart, be honest, I prefer the writing of the other one, which is kind of a reddish pen. But I like the looks of this one better, so maybe I need to just swap the nib units. I'll have to see if that's a thing I can do. So the Aurora DuoCart came in an original vintage box that they must have found, I guess, down in some cellar at the Aurora factory. I've never been there. I've seen pictures. It looks like an old house. So I'm making a creepy cellar door. That's what it's supposed to be. If you're from Italy, you might be able to tell me, yeah, our cellar doors don't look like that. Or maybe, yeah, we don't have cellars in Italy. But that's what you're getting. Then we have the Sheaffer Balance. And for some reason, I always want to call this pen Sheaffer Legacy. I own a Sheaffer Legacy. Why do I keep calling this the Sheaffer Legacy? Don't know. But that's what I do. And one of the neat things that comes out of this is just the realization that, oh, yeah, people talk a lot about vintage flex. Just because it's a vintage pen doesn't mean it's got a flexible nib. And just because it's not a vintage flex nib doesn't mean it's not a good pen or a lot of fun to write with. And this is a perfect example of that. Apparently, and I don't have like numbers to back this up, but apparently Sheaffer didn't make a lot of flex nibs. It had some, but not like other manufacturers did. Which is not a knock on Sheaffer, it's just a fact, and they still had perfectly good nibs. As you can see, this one writes beautifully. Let's see. If we're going to flex, we need a guy with no neck, spiky hair, what Lily has. We're just not going to give him a nose because I don't know how to do that. And he's flexing on us. If you run into a person that really looks like that, run away. Not an artist. Go to Pierre Gustafson's channel if you want good art. Then we have my Sheaffer Imperial Deluxe 2. Fun squared off end. Which isn't coming into focus, and I don't care much, so we're just going to move on. I'm more interested in its nib. Kind of a cool Triumph nib. When I did my live stream with Mr. Pierre Gustafson, he mentioned that these kind of nibs are distracting to him, not because of their writing, which he says is perfectly good, but because he just finds himself looking at them instead of doing what he should be doing with the pen. So Sheaffer Imperial Deluxe 2. And the ink in it is Dea Trementis, Violets, so this is a Dea Trementis inks I find often on, except for the very best papers, tend to absorb into it and then spread quickly. So, what do they call it? Feathering. They tend to be more feathery than other inks. But has some very nice colors. So, in honor of what I've noticed about them. And apparently they're made by an actual chemist. So, I don't know, does that make it a hobbyist ink like Noodlers? Whoever it is that makes them, he's got personality because he's making inks and doing things, but he's I guess you could say, not as much of a personality as Nathan Tardif. Is that a fair thing to say? My next pen is this lovely Sheaffer 330. It's got the name Imperial in parentheses. Anyway, another slip cap. This one has an inlaid nib. I got to thinking it might be fun to do a video of all my inlaid nibs. Don't worry, it's not going to be that long a video because I only have a few. So it's a Sheaffer Imperial 330. The ink is another one from Trementis. This one, is Red Roses. I think I told you one week that when I bought the house that I'm living in, it had a red rose bush planted way too close to the foundation, so I had to take it out. I don't get super excited by flowers. I know they can make a place look good, and they're pretty, but I just don't get excited. Oops, sorry, you probably didn't see any of that. I don't get excited about flowers the way I might have. Oh, look, there's this new vegetable I've never tried. I've never grown artichokes in North Dakota. I'm going to grow one. Yeah, I love that. So, my flower experiments aren't super exciting. So, what are we going to do for a picture? I don't want to draw a rose. I'm bored with roses. Let's draw. You know what? Since we've got a chemist, this is going to look a little obscene, but I promise it's not. So I used to work in a little school way in the northern part of the state. It was actually 6 miles out of Canada. And I ran into, there was like 12 of these pieces of glass equipment that looked like that. I told you, it's going to look obscene. But what it is, it's actually a glass retort. So you'd put your, I never found a lab to do with these, never tried to do a lab with these, but you'd put your burner under it, and it would do its flame thing, and you'd have your liquid in here, and then the stuff would come out. I've never figured out why this tiny high school in northern North Dakota had so many of them. Did they just get, hey, here's this glass equipment we're not using. Here you go, high school. I don't know. And what do you do with it? What's a lab you would actually use this for? Don't know. Oh, I can think of, we're boiling because we're trying to separate something by boiling point. But then how the hell, sorry, I almost swore there. How do you get in there and clean out the crud? Don't know. So I just left with a lot of mysteries with this piece of equipment. So if you can explain it, jump in. My next pen is the Sheaffer Clipper. No, I so apologize. Sheaffer Snorkel Clipper. And of course, it's a screw cap. Has another one of those nice, beautiful Triumph nibs. Just a triumph of modern pen engineering. I have a modern Jinhao with a nib like this. I'm just waiting for the right moment to do a video on it. Some week when I'm not feeling inspired with video, I'll probably pull that one out. So this is a Sheaffer Snorkel clipper because it would send up a snorkel to get ink. So you didn't have to get the nib dirty. The ink that's actually in it is Herbin Blue Myosotis. Swirly Doodles. And our swatch. So this is an example of a pen that's struggling a little bit to fill in and spread well. Because it's a much finer pen. So last week, I want to say it was last week, when I drew this, I started talking about a snorkel, and I drew that, and talked about the eyeball in it. And I got to thinking about it later. I said, snorkels are breathing tubes. Yes, submarines had snorkels. Sometimes they would put up a snorkel so they could get air without surfacing. That is a periscope, not a snorkel. Derp. So here's a snorkel sticking out of the water. Nobody called me on that in the comments, so I might have gotten away with it if I hadn't admitted it today. My penultimate pen. Ooh, yeah, this is definitely too dark. I gotta find a good compromise between the page being overexposed and the pen being underexposed. I think an f-stop down or two is in order. But this is the TWSBI Draco. It has a very, very attractive material. The first time I saw a TWSBI Draco, it was a review by ChrisRap52, and I knew right away I wanted one. His wasn't this color. I want to say it was green. I feel like the nib has come out too, but I got to look at old video to decide that. TWSBI Draco, this was a broad. The ink in it is Sailor Jentle. It's getting a little bit more bounce though when it's like this. Blue Sky. A little thingy. Swatcher Doodle. Uh-oh. That's new behavior. Let's just see if the nib really is out, because sometimes... No, it's not... Oh, geez. I just pulled that puppy straight out. But I do see the problem. Yep, it was out. Check that out. I'm lucky I didn't have ink gushing all over the place, so I don't know how that happened, but... Yeah, it doesn't have that nice bounce anymore. Sad day. But it's still an enjoyable pen to write with. All right, so in honor of all that, the opening where the feed goes in is kind of shaped like that, like a half moon shape. And that's how I knew right away. As soon as the nib came out, I'm just like, oh, yeah, you've been pulled out. And my last pen is a very fun. In fact, I wrote my thank you letter to Mr. Carson Hauser with this. I didn't know his home address, so I mailed it to his work. Hopefully he doesn't get fired over that, but that won't happen. I'm just kidding. But anyway, very nice. Not that he saw the difference. And by the way, he was not a fountain pen person. And it made sense. You know, you're out working in the pasture and you want to jot down ideas. You're probably not going to whip out your nice fountain pen your Pilot Custom 823 with the signature nib. When I'm outdoors working, I don't take my nice fountain pens along. If I take a fountain pen, it's a junker that I don't care what happens to it. The ink in this is just drew a complete blank. Robert Oster. Sorry. A very nice gray. It did cross my mind slightly to send him just a cheap fountain pen and bottle of ink, but then I thought, you send this unsolicited gift, and then it sits. If he'd expressed interest in using a fountain pen, that'd be different, but he didn't. So he got a thank you letter, and we'll just call it good. All right, so those are the pens and inks that I've been using this week. With an obscene drawing this week. That's okay, I flipped off my 8th graders this week because I was talking about transistors. I was holding up these 3 fingers to them, except they saw this side. And I'm talking about, and I'm not going to do it, but I was talking about the, where the power goes in and out, and then I fold them down and started talking about where the energy comes in to signal the transistor to act as a switch, and I realized, oh, yeah, I'm flipping off a bunch of 13 and 14-year-old kids. Great job there, squirrel. So those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. Very Sheaffer heavy. I might have to do another Sheaffer video or two. So this past week, I did a live stream. I interviewed Mr. Carson Hauser, cowboy poet and bull rider and ag teacher and rancher, and I forget what else. But anyway, man of many talents. It wasn't one of my more popular live streams, which surprised me a little, but anyway, he was a very well-spoken man. Talked a little bit about himself, the area he lives in, what VOAG teaching is. Talked about bull riding and some of the gear involved. And then he got into poetry and did recite one of his poems, Job in Town. So I appreciated that. I would be honest, I was too shy to ask him to recite a poem, but a viewer did, and he obliged. And it was a good one. So, if you've ever seen live poetry performances, it can be interesting. And, somebody who's really good at it can really draw you in. Ask me to read a poem, you'll just be like, okay, wake me when it's over. Anyway, so I put the link to the live stream in the video description if you'd like to catch that. I've had some suggestions of a few other live streams, and I will work on pursuing those. But I've gotten interested. I interviewed Mr. Pierre Gustafson a few weeks ago, Mr. Carson Hauser last week. I would be interested in interviewing some more creative type people. So if you have some ideas in that vein, let me know down in the video description. Or, I'm sorry, down in the comment section. There's a couple local artists that I actually know, so I may pursue them. We'll see. They're not public people, really. But yeah, with AI, and I'm working slowly on the outline of a video on AI, but I just feel like it's getting more and more important to give credit to humans. So, anyway, feel free to give me comments for future live streams, or people who may wish to do a more edited video that I put up later. I will. My software I use for live streaming can be live streamed without an audience, and then saved for posterity, edited, and so on. So anyway, leave a comment down below if you have some ideas. Or cool people in the pen world. I'm still interested in doing that. This live streaming is... it's been interesting doing it as a collaborative effort. I getting a lot out of that. And, didn't have too many comments with Mr. Hauser, but one of the ones led to him reciting a poem, which I think made the video. With Mr. Pierre Gustafson and an Ink Guy, we definitely got some good comments that led to further discussion. And so I enjoy the participation when I do the live stream, so please feel free to participate. In other exciting news, one of my things I've been working on is when I travel somewhere trying to collect a few 1-minute stretches of scenic video to use as a title. I haven't put the title on this video yet, so I don't know which one I picked for this video, but that's one of the things I'm trying to do. And I'm also enjoying putting in, and a few people commented on this when I asked about length of video. I've been putting in outros of driving footage, especially since I've been struggling to find the time to do driving videos. It's been nice just to put some nice scenic short parts of a drive at the end of these pens and uses. And if you don't want to watch them, turn it off when it gets there. But that's been kind of nice to put those in. I gotta look. I know I have driving footage from around the area of where Mr. Carson Hauser lives. So I don't know if I'll do a continuous stream of however many minutes it takes, or if I'll do a couple things. Maybe I'll poke around the town, because I know I have a little footage of me poking around the town he lives in. So I haven't done too much walking around the town with a camera in hand. I have walked around the town a number of times when I lived up there, but not with a camera in hand, because digital cameras weren't really a popular thing when I lived up there. Time flies when you're having fun. So anyway, it's just been interesting, and now I'm starting to develop a small library of titles. I didn't even get all my summer titles done or used up. So that's what I like, is having some variety. So one of my favorites this fall, I took video footage of the Cleveland elevator. Sorry, I need a drink here. I've had this cough that won't go away. Anyway, I used footage of the Cleveland elevator for outro footage in one of my videos, and caught that thing in the perfect golden light. And what more could you ask for intro footage? And then in other exciting news, I last week asked about video length. I thought I'd get a diversity of opinion, and I'd have to make some kind of a survey on my chat or community tab, whatever it is where I can post stuff. But the answers seem to be down to two camps. One camp was do what you want, people don't have to watch it. And the other camp was somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes. One person said 12 minutes, but I'm not sure if they were serious or if they were joking. Because they may have been just saying, just put up the pens, don't put the other crap up. Don't know. Anyway, if you have more thoughts, let me know. But I'm going to try to shoot more for that 30 to 45 minute area. One nice warning sign is I have this guy, which is showing, I don't know if you can see it, because when I turn it to you, I can't see it. But it is how I'm operating the camera that's filming me. And the camera filming me has, I believe it's either a 13 or a 15 minute limit, and then I have to restart the video. And I've had the experience a few times of chatter, and then look down and say, oh, when did you stop recording? I don't know. And then try to guess where I stopped recording and restart. And so I think, as a protection for me, as a good reminder for me, maybe once I can restart it, but then that's a sign to wrap this puppy up. I'm thinking back to my days when I used to judge speech regularly. You had to give I'm trying to remember, I had the cards. I want to say a 1 minute warning, and then a 30-second warning, and then a 15-second warning, and then you had countdown cards for 3, 2, 1, stop. So you had to have time cards so that the speaker wouldn't go over time. They're allowed to finish a short sentence after time is called, but they can't keep going. And then you get the speeches where they're just, boo! and then, oh, you're done? Oh, yeah, I guess so. Okay. Well, that was short. So I'm trying to, it's going to be a work in progress, especially if I have lots of topics written down. But if I have lots of topics written down, that may be a sign that, hey, driving video. I'm a little bit more open to making the driving videos longer because I see them as essays. But at the same time, I know what I do on YouTube. If I have time, I'll watch a longer video. Sorry, they were really dirty. If I have time, I'll watch a longer video. And otherwise, I might say, oh, we'll save that one for later. I really want to hear what they have to say, but not right now. And later never comes. And then years later, I run across the video and say, oh, why didn't I watch that? And watch it. And, yeah. So I think that's a good area for me to be in. I think I'm going to aim for an hour max on my videos. I know I look at some of the videos and say, oh, 3 hours and 30 seconds. No, thank you. Might be good stuff in there, but maybe they need to edit it down. And sometimes that happens with live streams. You know, live streams need all kinds of editing, and that's a weakness of a live stream. You know, if you're watching it live, sometimes it makes more sense in context, especially if you can interact with the person. But live streams are harder to watch afterwards because you're... Okay, cut that out. You can't edit them. Well, they can be edited, but on the YouTube platform, if I edit, boop, there goes all my chat. Now, I do try to put the chat on screen, but the only chat I put on screen is actually pertinent chat we're going to interact with. There's sometimes other interesting chat that, while interesting, has nothing to do with the video. And I don't want to lose that. So that's why I don't often edit live streams. I think in the next couple of weeks, you may see me experiment a little with some of the features of live streams. So I may put up a fake live stream just to try out a feature. So if you see that, I'll call it fake live stream, and you can know that, oh, yeah, he's just trying out a feature because he's got to do it live in order to test it. So I have been doing the live streams at 1:30 my time, and works very well for me. I don't know how it works for others, but then I think there's no one perfect time because somebody on the other side of the world, oh, you're doing it at 1:30? Yeah, it's 1:30 my time too. 1:30 a.m. and I'm fast asleep. So somebody's always asleep. So I don't know what's a good time. But anyway, I do keep working to improve it. I hope you've seen that I've worked on the autofocus. I think I've got the autofocus issues licked with the pens. What I did is I just bumped up the f-stop so it had a narrower aperture, which gave it a greater depth of field. So then when the autofocus hunted, it wasn't noticeable. Still tweaking the auto exposure. Oh, it's not auto exposure. Still tweaking the exposure. So you'll have to let me know this week if I got it closer. But I think I've licked the autofocus. Exposure, getting there. And another thing I've learned, these lights up here that you can't see, I was bringing them down here to really light the pens up. Now, they're up high, lighting me. Now I am just turning them down where they are, and it seems to give a gentler light on the pens. So let me know if I'm finally making progress, because that's been a frustration for me. You didn't see my frustration before, but the camera I was using, it was a camcorder. I loved it. It did amazing close-ups. I struggled with that one too at first, but not for as long, but definitely for several weeks. But it started recording, and then I'd take the card out and, oh, never mind, we didn't actually write any of that you recorded to the card. And tried different cards, and that didn't fix it. And I finally said, well, time to bite the bullet and buy a new camera. So I bought one that has been amazing. Not so much for the writing, because I'm still learning that one, but for everything else, landscapes, walking around, going to concerts, anything like that. Not sports, horrible at sports. But anything else, scenery, wonderful, versatile, doing the things this camera used to do and more. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching, and if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, am I improving the autofocus and exposure? Do you have comments on live streams or video length? Or, my titles and outros I've been doing? Let us know down in the comments. So I want to thank you for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.